A storyteller's adage quips that there are only two kinds of stories. One, a man went on a journey, and two, one day, a stranger came to town. Yellow Earth, Chen Kai-ge's landmark 1984 film, opens with the ambiguity that is characteristic of the entire film on both of these at once. A man is on a journey, arriving as a stranger in a small town. He appears over a low horizon, walks towards camera, framed by a massive sky, almost as though he emerged as a small piece of the sky itself, interspersed with shots of desolate, empty landscape. Many piles of books, theses, and film school dissertations have been written about Yellow Earth's cultural and critical impact on Chinese and world cinema. A fairly robust critical consensus sees Yellow Earth as marking a frontier between all Chinese cinema that came before and after it. Chen, working with cinematographer Zhang Yimou, employs many striking visual innovations in the film, from its heavy use of symbolism and reliance on ambiguous metaphors to its translation of traditional Chinese art forms. All were considered groundbreaking at the time for a Chinese production. A favorite of mine is the film's color palette, which is composed almost exclusively of primary colors. The film contains almost nothing but deep blues, sharp reds, and of course, earthy yellows. Chen and Zhang's use of a high horizon in Yellow Earth allowed the landscape shots of the film to recall the look of traditional Chinese painting, with a sliver of sky balanced on top of a mass of earth. And with any human figures in the frame nearly swallowed up by the surrounding natural landscape. This aesthetic choice gives the film more than a distinct look. It is stretched even further and allows the frame to be used in another way. It creates a symbolic motif which helps translate the film's mismatch between human hopes and aspirations and the harshness of the world toward those hopes. So let's focus on a specific visual idea. If you were making a film that is thematically dominated by the opposition between idealism about a new future and a raw, unforgiving reality that precludes it, how could you convey this idea visually? Chen and Zhang solved this problem by using a simple opposition. Up and down. If shots can be framed with a high horizon, then they can also be framed with a low one. And the transition between the two can signal to the audience an important symbolic distinction. Whenever the filmmakers want a moment or a character to embody optimistic but distant idealism, a better future, or the dream of a different world, they set them against the sky with a low horizon. When they identify a moment or character with the opposite of these, a character confronting the harsh realities of life, the unchanging nature of the world, or powerlessness in the face of their circumstances and fate, they anchor the shots with a high horizon and the monolithic Yellow Earth dominating the frame. Let's take this scene for example. Cui Qiao has taken a liking to Gu Qing, and he has awakened a small hope in her, that the world could change. Here, Cui Qiao listens to Gu Qing speak about his ideals, and how the world must change. The shot frames Cui Qiao lifting her eyes up slowly. She raises them quite literally from the earth, the dirt in front of her, to gaze at the distance. Her head is entirely surrounded by sky, without a hint of earth or landscape. Without dialogue, the audience can see her desire for a different future and a nascent belief in the possibility that Gu Qing's faraway world in Yan'an might become real. She allows herself a moment of hope before noticing her own father's gaze and returns hers back to the ground, as if she doesn't dare to let this hope become too obvious. Let's look at another example of this sky-earth symbolic distinction. Han Han, who up to this point has not spoken to Gu Qing, finally begins to open up in front of the soldier and sings a playful, rude, and funny song mocking the heavens and the Dragon King, dragging them down to the earth, and putting them on the same level as the poor boy married off before he even stopped wetting the bed. Both funny and bitter, the song could not be more firmly rooted in the woes of everyday life on the lowest plateau.
跟我唱。
Seeing that Han Han is trying to engage him, Gu Qing teaches Han Han a far more idealistic song, a revolutionary lyric about the Communist Party's fight for the freedom and power of the people.
斧头老倔头，看开了大路公。
镰刀斧头老倔头，
对着嘞。
镰刀斧头老倔头。
Then we watched Cui Qiao quietly observing the two from a distance. And then we get this. The frame shows Cui Qiao set against the sky, the music swelling with hope. Cui Qiao beams at the possibility that this strange soldier has brought into her small world while looking off into the sky. And then, as she descends from the fields, the frame shifts away from the sky and becomes dominated again by the yellow earth. And we are shown this. She is brought harshly back to the reality of her situation. The sight of her soon-to-be mother-in-law drags her back from the hope she had imagined, set against the sky only moments before. As the film's final dreamlike montage proceeds, we are shown a final juxtaposition of heaven and earth. At the end of the film, famine has broken out among the people. The Dragon King totem appears against an imposingly bright sky, with a sea of starving men praying to it for rain. They are directly appealing to the sky, pegging their hopes for the future on whatever power is hidden there. A strange stampede breaks out as the ceremony begging the Dragon King reaches its climax. Han Han is mired in the dust and muck of the masses of his fellow countrymen charging past him. It seems that he has held on to the hope that Gu Qing will return as promised, and that he will bring with him the salvation that he represented, and which Cui Qiao died trying to reach in vain. Han Han fights against the swirling stampede of humanity, but cannot escape them, as the crowd clamors wildly toward their traditions, hoping they will save them from their dire crisis. Gu Qing once again appears on the horizon, as he did in the film's opening scene. But rather than rising over the horizon, he is set against the sky, so as to appear to be very nearly walking out of it, flickering into and out of existence from cut to cut. Han Han continues to struggle against the roiling river of dirt-covered men, who for flashes seem to have merged with the earth itself. Finally, we close on the empty sky, where Gu Qing no longer appears, and then, in a long, slow pan, the camera drifts from the heavenly idealism and possibility of above back to the immovable mass and seemingly solid reality of the yellow earth.